The Vorcai had a word for what they brought to negotiations when words failed. Kefel, the Unchained. A name older than their space program, older than their first wars, older than the first Vorcai who looked up at the sky and decided it was not far enough. The Kefel was 7 meters of engineered predator. A bone-plated skull, claws that had been selectively bred across 400 generations to punch through starship-grade composite, eyes that saw in 17 spectral ranges, including the infrared glow of fear. It had no nervous system capable of pain. It had never, in recorded history, failed to break a negotiation in the Vorcai's favor. Ambassador Skarin released it into the chamber with the practiced calm of someone who had seen this work 41 times. The human delegate had arrived 40 minutes earlier. Her name was Corporal Nadia Vasquez, which struck the Vorcai interpreter as an unusual title for a diplomat. She was small. All humans were small. With dark hair pulled back in a way that left her neck exposed, she carried no visible weapon. She wore the simple gray uniform of the Terran Diplomatic Auxiliary Corps, which the Vorcai intelligence files described as a branch of the human military that insists it is not the military. She had eaten a sandwich during the pre-session briefing. Ambassador Skarin had found that deeply unsettling, though he couldn't say why. When the Kefel entered the chamber, when the great vault door rolled aside and the beast surged through on all 6 limbs, when its guttural roar shook the transparent walls and sent junior Vorcai aides scrambling to the edges of the room, Corporal Vasquez turned in her chair. She watched it for 3 full seconds. Then she laughed. Not nervously. Not the high, thin sound of a creature suppressing terror. A genuine, open, delighted laugh. The kind a child makes when a dog runs in from the yard. "Oh wow," she said. The Kefel paused. In 400 years of negotiations, it had never been laughed at. Its sensory array processed the sound, found no fear pheromones in the air, recalibrated, and roared again. Louder, close enough to the human's chair that the vibration knocked her water glass off the table. Vasquez caught the glass without looking. She was still watching the Kefel. Her head was tilted. She was smiling. "How old is he?" she asked. The interpreter blinked. "The Kefel does not have she," Vasquez corrected, still without looking away. "Look at the shoulder width. Female. Maybe 6 years. 7. She clicked her tongue softly. "You've been underfeeding her. Scapular ridges are showing." The chamber was absolutely silent. Ambassador Skarin found his voice. "Corporal Vasquez, you are aware of what stands before you." "I'm aware." She finally looked at him. Her expression was pleasant, almost apologetic. "I'm sorry. She's genuinely beautiful. I didn't mean to make light of the moment." She paused. "What did you call her?" "The Kefel does not have individual. I'll call her Reina." Vasquez pushed back her chair and stood. Every Vorcai in the room tensed. The Kefel's 6 eyes locked onto the movement. Its kill response had a hair trigger. Ambassador Skarin had seen it take down a tank once in a field demonstration because the vehicle had moved too quickly. Vasquez walked toward it. Not fast. Not slow. She walked the way someone walks toward a dog that's barking at a fence. Certain. Unhurried. Unafraid. She kept her hands loose at her sides. She made no sudden movements. She also, notably, made no move to appear small or non-threatening. She simply walked. The Kefel lowered its head. Its roar dropped to a rumble. The rumble was, by any biological measure, a warning. A final warning. The sound a thing makes before it stops warning and starts killing. Vasquez stopped 2 meters away. She looked the beast in the eyes, all 6 of them, tracking between them with the easy patience of someone doing it on purpose. And she said quietly, "Easy, girl." The rumble did not stop. "Ambassador Skarin," Vasquez said, not looking away from the Kefel, "I understand the tradition. I do. 41 delegations before me. 41 successful coercions. The Kefel is an extraordinary animal, and I mean that without irony." She paused. "But I need you to understand something before we continue." "And what is that?" "I brought mine." The silence in the chamber shifted quality. It became a different kind of silence. The kind that happens when a sound you didn't realize you were expecting never comes. Scarin's secondary eyes tracked to the corridor behind the human. The sealed corridor. The one that had been checked by 3 security sweeps and confirmed empty. Your delegation arrived alone, he said carefully. My diplomatic delegation arrived alone. Vasquez reached slowly into her jacket pocket. Every guard's weapon arm came up. She produced a small matte black metal cylinder about the length of her thumb. She held it up so they could all see it. I filed the companion transport separately under zoological transfer permits. She smiled. The smile had a quality the interpreter would later struggle to describe in the debrief. Comfortable was the word he eventually chose. She looked comfortable. Standard practice for certain classes of Earth fauna. She seemed to search for the right phrasing. She looked at the Kefel one more time. Sorry, Raina, she said, genuinely, like she meant it. Then she whistled. It was a short sound. 2 notes, rising. The kind of whistle that carries for 3 seconds. Nothing happened. Then the wall moved. Not the wall, as it turned out. The thing that had been in the wall. In the maintenance corridor that ran behind the chamber's eastern face. The one rated for service drones up to 800 kilograms. The one that 4 Vorcai security personnel had walked through twice in the past hour without incident. That thing moved. The durasteel panel didn't shatter. It buckled first. A slow industrial deformation that made a sound like a continent deciding to shift. Then it came inward in sections, peeled back the way foil peels back. Because the thing on the other side had decided the door's opinion was irrelevant. It was larger than the Kefel. Not by a small margin. It came through low. It knew how to move through confined spaces, which was its own kind of terrifying. It resolved itself in the chamber's light as something that looked, at first glance, like it shouldn't exist. Too large, too dense, too calm. Its eyes found Vasquez immediately, and it moved to her. 800 kilograms of apex predator. It pressed its head against her hand. She scratched behind its ears. It made a sound. The Kefel had not moved. For the first time in 400 years of recorded use, the Kefel had gone still. Not the stillness of preparation. The stillness of an animal recalibrating at a fundamental level. Its 17-spectrum vision was processing the thing in front of it and arriving, apparently, at conclusions that required verification. Ursus arctus horribilis, Vasquez said conversationally. North American grizzly bear. This one's named Constantine. He's 11 years old, which is young for a bear of his conditioning. He was raised in a wildlife rehabilitation program, then transferred to the Diplomatic Companion Corps. She looked at the ambassador with an expression of mild curiosity. We have 43 species registered with the DCC. Constantine is level 2. I didn't want to be dramatic. Ambassador Scarin stared at the animal pressing its enormous head into the human's palm like it was asking for something. What, he said, is level 5? Level 5, said Vasquez, is why the paperwork takes 6 months. She gave Constantine one final scratch and stepped back to the table. Now, shall we talk about the Karth Passage mining rights? I think there's a deal here that works for everyone. The Kefel sat down. She had never sat down during a negotiation before. Ambassador Scarin looked at his Unchained, then at the bear, then at the small human woman who had caught a falling glass without looking, eaten a sandwich, and laughed at his greatest weapon. He sat down too. Yes, he said. I believe there is. The Karth Passage Accords were signed 11 hours later. Diplomatic historians later noted that it was the fastest resolution in Vorcai Terran history, attributed in the official record to an unusually productive atmosphere of mutual understanding. Corporal Vasquez was promoted to lieutenant the following month. Constantine received a commendation and a fish.